streaming it to this channel. Now, if you're new here, my name is Carrie Bartholomew, otherwise known as Carib Marcel. And what I do is I lift the voices of people who do hard things in times when it's not very popular to do so, especially. And today is no different. I have my friend Brooke Stevens. Brooke is also the creator of ratedbooks.com. Is it com or org?
Org.
.org, ratedbooks.org.
Yeah.
And what we're going to do today is we're going to correct some misinformation. There's so many people that call what's going on today, that what parents are doing, as book banning. Now, that is part of a language to get you to not even listen. And if you have friends or family who use the term book banner, I highly encourage you to share this episode with them, because we're going to just go through it and explain what is absolutely happening and what's not happening, and what you can do about it if you want to get involved. So without further ado, welcome, Brooke. I'm so glad you can join me today.
Thank you so much. And a little heads up for parents. Sometimes we will be showing excerpts. I don't like to read it, but I encourage you to pause it and read it for yourself, because that's the best way to be convinced. You see it in black and white. The books testify against themselves. And that's really all you need to know. Go take a look and see what's there. One of the books that I recently challenged is called The Witching Hour by Anne Rice. It's horrific. So if you want to look up a title, there's one to start with. We actually have excerpts for you to see.
And we will be going through how to look those up within this episode. Now, the first thing that you need to understand is that you are being lied to. And I know that I'm jumping straight in, but there's something called queering the catalog, or queering the library. And I'm just going to share with you really quickly the definitions of what that means, and what is going on currently. So queering the library is a phrase used in library and information science circles to describe intentional efforts to integrate queer theory and LGBTQ plus perspectives into library collections, cataloging, programming events, and institutional practices. The next one, collection development, prioritizing. So not just including, but prioritizing books with explicit LGBTQ themes, gender ideology, or queer retellings of classics. Think Anne of Green Gables, Little Women,
Anne Frank.
Anne Frank. So, and this is not your classic books. I have all of those books on the bookshelf behind me. This is specifically changing them.
Retelling, yes.
Titles with graphic sexual content, even in youth sections. So what I want to do is talk to you about just an experience that happened in our tiny, tiny library. Our library is smaller than my house. And in our library, in the toddler books, there were books that were about they're called toddler totes. And in these totes, it might be learn about Hawaii, which is specifically the one that a parent was up in arms about, because all they wanted was something that identified anything. So they get a tote about Hawaii, and it's got little Hawaiian toys. And inside of it, it's got a story about a trans kid who becomes an activist. And that is the focus of the books. And so these people very politely go and say, is there any way that we can know this before we go home? Because these totes are locked and you don't get to open them until you've checked them out. And so they're like, before I even, expose my toddler to this, I'd like to know what's in them. And honestly, the librarian that we dealt with was quite ferocious online, wouldn't come to the city council meeting, and instead was just like, not having these books causes kids to do terrible things to themselves. And that's just one of the things that we're facing as with this intentional exposing of our kids.
Well,
Sometimes
I
it's
I
under the
just
carpet.
wanna
Go
let
ahead.
you know that
Yes.
citizens are fighting back in South Dakota right now. It's
Yeah.
in Brookings Public Library where they're saying that the county or the city, they're not gonna fund the library anymore unless they rate their books. And so if we have strong leaders in our community, they can push for this. And so they're like, well, we're just going to have to charge our residents $40 or whatever a year to use our library if the city's not going to fund us because there's no way we can rate our books. And
Right.
there is because we actually build a system. We have 34,000 aggregated reviews on these books, and we can run it through in less than 10 minutes and match all the ratings with existing books in their catalog. And so, but we need citizens, we need leaders to say, not appropriate. You need to have permission. You need to identify these books. But if you just say, oh, they won't let us do it, I think that's what a lot of people say. A lot of
Right.
people just say, oh, yeah, it was just, they don't let us. I'm like, oh, yeah. Okay, let's go. Let's go. Let's start. Let's do what's your first excuse? Okay, let's overcome that. What's your second excuse? Let's overcome that. And so we're constantly building solutions so that
Right.
we can be represented in this. This is our tax dollars. And so for them to say, you can't even open the box, and we don't have any idea what's inside of it, that's bogus
Right.
because they got it for that specific reason. And it's in their catalog, it's in the description. The publishers know, the authors know, and they're hiding it from us intentionally. So we've been bringing all of this together so parents can choose.
Well, and one
Um,
of the things you were saying about the authors is that there are some authors who don't even want to do this, but it's the only way in which their books can be published.
yes, yes, they're say and by a publishing house, right? They can always self-publish. But by a publishing house, they come after them and say, hey, you need to put more explicit content in, and then we'll make everybody buy it, and it's going to be a win-win for everybody. They're like, no, I'm not going to. Okay, then we won't publish you. So the publishing houses are actually pushing this for the authors to print it. And there's even an imprint of one of the main publishing houses that came out saying they're only going to do clean books. And I'll have to get that name for you in a second. But that's just saying they're trying to differentiate themselves. And in their differentiation, they're like, hey, we're not going towards explicit books, which is what the industry is doing. They admit it, a major publishing house, by creating one that isn't and saying that's how they're different. So that in and of itself proves that they are doing more and more explicit books.
And Brooke, I want to go through some of the explicit books. I know that you don't feel comfortable reading them. I'm going to read some of the content
Okay.
because I think it's important that people
Yeah.
understand what we're dealing with here.
Don't
This
let
is
your kids
not
hear it. Put terrific pause for your kids.
yes. Well, kids don't usually listen to this station.
Okay.
So, okay. In the intoxicating darkness, I nally mounted my victim. I don't even know what nally means.
Oh, finally. I think this is
Oh,
the wrong one.
okay. Okay. Feeling my hands fall gently onto a great mass of hair, a mouth sucked at me, and strong arms drew me down into a veritable field of soft breasts and belly and sweet perfumed flesh. As I cried out in my passion, a soul lost, questioning, the blindfold was ripped from me. I looked down in the dim light to see the face of Charlotte beneath me. You guys, this book's is called incest. Is it called incest or is that just what we named it?
No, this is a scene of incest, and this is called The Witching Hour. It's
Okay.
rated 5 out of 5, meaning the worst. It's deviant content. And
Yeah.
this is just sitting in our local public school library that I
Okay.
recently
So
challenged this book.
okay, and it says I would have fallen and all I could think of was this is my daughter. My daughter. What have I done?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's as much and it is definitely you are welcome to pause and to watch this, but this is in what kind of school? High school, junior high?
I believe it was in a high school in Davis
Okay.
School District in Utah.
Okay.
and they don't have any flags. And I'm like, hey, I sent them a list. I cataloged everything. There are 800 books rated for adults in one
Yeah.
high school. 800. And I have that list for you if you want to pull it up. But
Yeah. Is it this one?
no, that's the state
Okay.
removal list.
Oh, okay.
But to have 800, and I send it to them, and I'm giving them a chance to go through it and share it with their libraries, but I'm dealing with the administration, and I've gone through all of the high schools and rated all of their books. And I'm like, here we go. So we'll
Right.
see what they
And here's
do.
how it works. Here's what a rating actually looks like.
Mhm.
This is, let's get a better picture of it.
Yeah, the front page of the witching hour, the incest part that you just read.
Right.
So go to this is
Okay.
the back, but we do a word count at the bottom of each of them. This is just one of the passages from page 455.
You can see that
Um,
here.
so the one that we put, not for minors, it has a content warning on it. And then we will have a summary of concerns and we'll have a book summary. So
Now,
the
this is a fact. So there's a lot of people who will say something can't be pornography if it's not a visual image. But on many of the pornographic websites, there are literary sections, there's stories.
oh yeah, they have audio clips, they have everything.
And these aren't literal porn, like Pornhub type things where you can find stories. And the
Mhm.
reason that they do stories is because they are oftentimes more graphic than anything that is going to be done in video. So
Well,
there's
yeah,
lots of
because
times
you
things
get the
like snuff.
feeling, the taste, the smell, the
Yeah,
touch,
yeah,
everything. And they have taste in there, it's
yeah,
just
they do. So
so.
here's how it looks that you can quickly go and look at a page, and I wonder if I can get this any larger. Let me see.
And this is what we do at Rated Books. We just
Yeah.
put out our 40 new reports. And out of those 40, 26 were books identified with LGBTQ content because June is the month of fidelity. It's Fidelity Month now in Utah. And
Okay.
so we wanted to be able to identify those books for parents so that they can choose what they want exemplified for their child. And so let's see if you can pull up the witching hour,
Witching hour.
the first page. It's called Rated Books. I believe you labeled it
Oh,
Rated
yep.
Books.
Read the books. There you
Okay.
go.
So this is what our summary page looks like. Then we have page number and excerpts. It's not all of them because some of them are pages and pages long. So we just give you some. And so you could take this and print it out, give it to your librarian, bring it to your library administration at the district level. I have people giving it to the governors on a regular basis. Don't go away. I mean, you can't just say, oh, they just allow it. Like, this is not right. It's not good for our youth. There are so many good books out there that why do you have to put this in a library for kids under 18 without parental knowledge? This is way worse than a rated R movie, which in Utah they require parental permission to sign. I don't even challenge the books that are rated 3, which is equivalent to rated R. I don't even challenge those in Utah. I'm
And what is a
challenging the
challenge?
triple X books, right? The NC-17
Right.
stuff.
Right. And so a challenge is removing the book from the library, but it is not going after the publisher and saying, how dare you publish this? You should be canceled. In terms of that whole definition of banning. If a book is
Oh,
banned, you can't access it anywhere.
yeah.
And so, but I have to again just take this antidote that I was a school librarian's assistant, but I lived in the library. And I've done this literally since I was in seventh grade.
Mhm.
I've organized the books on the shelves of libraries, right? We've put stickers, we've put rated, this child's reading level is here, so this is what they can read.
Mhm.
Even when my
Mhm.
son was in school, I had to prove that he could comprehend more than a first or second grader in order for him to, this was normal. And then all of a sudden it switched. And another one of these things that it says is that it prioritizes these. So, to describe intentional efforts to integrate queer theory and LGBTQ perspectives into libraries. Um, that's the one I just did. And then this is the one prioritizing. Hear that. Prioritizing. The main focus of many of our libraries is to fill them with these kind of books. And here's just an example that Brooke shared of LGBTQ books for kids.
Yes, so this is on rated books. If you go to reports, you can filter it by rating, content, and age. So in this case, there are over 100 books where I filtered it just for elementary level books and also by gender dysphoria transgender. So this is just the gender dysphoria transgender. This isn't the alternate sexualities.
So tell me about, because there is, I mean, I've looked at some books, and I'm going to play devil's advocate here. I've looked at some books that are like The Prince or something like that, where the prince realizes that he doesn't want to marry a princess and he marries a prince, and that's as far as it goes. Is that what these books are, or do they have more? I mean, is
That's a
there,
great
yeah.
That's a great question. We recently updated our rating scale, so that if there's just a 0 out of 5 is there's no mention. A 1 out of 5 means there's a brief mention of, some character that isn't one of the main characters. A 2 out of 5, which is the juvenile advisory equivalent um, to the PG, is that it seems to be pushing the ideology, or it's pro transitioning, or telling them that they're born in the wrong body, or something like that. There's a little bit more. So the books vary. Now, this is rated books, and we just began to do that in the last 2 months. We have an amazing group helping us going through the books for children in a state where this is an issue right now. So we have volunteers from across the country. We're trying to standardize the rating system and say what it requires this. So if you take a look at the National Book Rating Index, which my husband and I also built, if you could pull up that picture while I'm talking.
Yeah.
That doesn't have a current rating system. So this one you can click on. It does have a rating system. It's been standardized for 34,000 books. But I cannot tell you if it's from a 0, 1, and 2 unless it's a rated books report. So it's just like, is there LGBTQ content or not? That's all that this measures. So in this, to check it up, filter by content designation, you would check LGBTQ, and then you would search by the rating, which would be 1 or 2, and it's a good indication if it's in elementary schools or not. And so, you really have to look at the book, but we're trying to make it easily available for parents. They just have to type in the title of the book. It will pop up, and you'll see it on the little thing. If it has our indicator, it's a little rainbow trans sign, and then
Yeah.
there's a CRT. Potential violation is fascinating. I had a librarian ask me for this. I didn't even know that it was part of it. But if you can pull up the book, let's see. Anyway, so it is let's see which one it is.
Is it this one?
No.
No. Okay.
But let's get it, because I think it's interesting. It's the dark one. It's called 120 Banned Books.
Oh. Okay.
And anyway, it's white in it. Anyway, so this book, he said, hey, do you have anywhere it lists the authors who have come out in a thing against Israel and said, hey, we're going to ban anything from Israel?
Oh,
And
wow.
Yeah, and so we said, so there were thousands of authors, so I cross-referenced that list of authors who had signed this ban against Israel and then marked him in the book, and that is under, that's
I don't
not it.
see it. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Okay.
But that is under there. It's called Flagged for Local Review State Anti-BDS Legislation. And this particular author had signed something that he would not support Israel, and they wanted a treaty against them. And that goes against 38 state laws. So the librarian who requested of me was in one of those states where it was against the law to use this, which I had never heard. I have authors coming and asking me, are you going to come against authors? And I'm like, why would we do that? And it hadn't entered my mind until this librarian said, hey, can you do this? I'm like, well, that's easy. So I add that filter in. So those who need it can have it. We're trying to provide the most information possible. If you could pull up so that people can make their own decisions, but they're hiding this information. So we're putting it all in one.
Okay.
Could you pull up the one that has Sarah J. Maas?
Is that Court of Mist and Fury?
Yes, the Court of
Okay.
Mist and Fury. So
Okay.
this is one of those things that we do. You'll notice underneath here that there are reports from a variety of organizations. We also put in all of the book removals. So you can see that there are 120 documents where this book has been removed across the country. So we're hoping that this gives counties and schools say, you know what, this is something that only adults should access. And so we'll put a sticker on it or whatever it is. But the most information we have about a specific book, we're trying to aggregate it into one location and also link to it. Because one of the problems with Pen America, sorry, you have a question?
I do, because it seems to me like that would be the solution, because what I've heard is people have said they don't want to put a rainbow sticker on because then LGBT kids get bullied. Now, as somebody who has a kid who recently graduated, LGBTQ kids are some of the most protected kids in our schools. So the idea that they're going to get bullied for their sticker, probably not going to happen.
They'll
However,
actually probably be more accepted. I mean, that's the trend. It's kind of like people assume that if they feel outed by society or like they don't fit
yeah,
in, they're like, if I adopt this persona, people will
yeah,
like me more. I'll have an automatic protection for who I am. And
yeah.
so a lot of kids are seeing that they'll be protected by assuming this
Well,
persona,
again,
whether
it
or not
it
it
said to
fits.
prioritize. It says to prioritize this group of
Hmm.
people. Again, but for the kid who is just looking for a book, that go back to Hawaii, take an older child, the person who's just looking for a book on Hawaii, and all of a sudden they get this. Now, another thing that I'm interested in that I don't see on your list here is something that isn't explicitly sexual, but it does push towards teaching kids to hate, dismantle, pushing them towards
Hmm.
activism.
Hmm.
And yeah,
Maybe the CRT button, but I haven't gotten really in depth about adding those CRT. I do have a list I need to
yeah,
add, but the CRT thing, if you click on it, you can, why don't you just, oh, you can't, we're not live.
yeah.
Anyway, you could filter it that way. And
So that would be right here.
yeah,
Just
and then if you hover over it, so you'll also see one of the books that has all of it. There's a little fist that will pop up. Once you
oh,
search a title, you click on it, and then the book tab has either the fist or the LGBTQ or challenged, removed, even recommended. And so it's kind of fun because we have books
I
that are
see it.
recommended, but also rated 3, which is for adults, like Elie Wiesel's Night, because of the Holocaust, because it's horrific content, it's horrific history. And it doesn't mean that it should not be given to kids. It just means that be aware that this content can be triggering. It can be, introduce it with care. We're not saying ban this book. We're saying here's some information so you can decide what's best for your kids.
Well, and I want to talk about that, Brooke, because it's part of why you got involved is because you have kids who could be triggered by these kind of things.
Yeah.
And I
And
think that's important because again with the misinformation, a lot of people have painted you as this bigot religious nutcase who
keep
sorry, I love
going.
you.
Keep
By the
going.
way, Brooke and I are like very good friends outside of this world as well. So, but but that's the reality is people have painted you that way. They've said, you don't want kids to learn about their races and things like that, which couldn't be further from the truth. You are a person who looks for that kind of material, but can you just say whatever you feel comfortable with saying about that?
Oh yeah. I adopted four African American kids from the foster care system who had significant trauma and who are triggered and run from their classroom when it's brought up unknowingly, and they're embarrassed by it, and they've had horrific experiences, and this is not the way to heal, is to throw it on them. It's not fair. It's not fair, and especially as a parent who is working so hard to help them heal from the trauma, it's insane to me. It's like, hey, we're going to be the parent here and we're going to re-traumatize your kids, so you have to pay for more therapy. Because when I lived in California, we lived in Sacramento, and we would drive all the way to Berkeley to visit the like worldwide specialist in EMDR, where you do the tapping and we would write stories to help them understand it. So to drive 4 hours without traffic, 4 hours without traffic to see the national specialist in EMDR to try and undo trauma. And then they're giving this book to my kid and they're going to re traumatize them. That's not fair as a parent. That's not fair to my child. And you're not going to do that. And so, obviously you can see that I have a lot of passion about this. But for them to overtake that and tell me that that's healing when I've seen the exact
Right.
opposite and been working to heal so hard, my whole life has been spent trying to heal. Like, when I was talking to the district after we got the law passed, they're like, "Oh, nothing happened," and they told that to us, and I'm like, "Okay," and I waited until the governor had signed it, and I'm like, "Actually, two down, this is how it applies." So to even get the bright line rule in use took so much effort. So I brought in Dr. You remember him? We met with him a lot. Anyway, can't remember his name. But he was a forensic child psychologist who testified in court cases to protect children against harms in like Pornhub and pedophilia and everything. And he came into that meeting with district administration and he said, "This is worse. The written stuff in the books that I had given them in binders, this is worse than any of the stuff that I've had to watch on Pornhub in order to testify against these pedophiles." And he said, and if this is triggering by them, they need to immediately see a therapist. He was a psychiatrist, doctoral level. And so it's just like, well, are
Not
you
only
going
a
to be
doctor
the
level,
expert
but
here,
let's
or are you
be
going to listen to the expert?
right. And this psychiatrist was also a black man. I feel like
Yeah.
that's important. That's important to say because a lot of people think that rating books or judging at all is not wanting the black story told. And
So bizarre.
insulting. It is
It's
so
so bizarre. I'm like, that's the black story? Give
right.
me a break.
Right. I
Gosh, there
know.
are so many beautiful stories. And this
Yeah.
is the one that you want to say. But you know where this comes from is the ALA legal counsel, Deborah Caldwell Stone, in, I believe it was 2020. It's on our website, ratedbooks.org. She said, we need to reframe this issue that these books are sexually inappropriate for minors and tell people that this is basically DEI and that this is to bring it in. I'm like, this was an orchestrated attempt. We have video proof that she said this, and it's insulting to people of color to
Well,
say,
and not only that, but we used to be foster parents as well. And before you could get licensed to be a foster parent, and I'm talking about before 2020. So
mm-hmm.
6 years ago. Okay. Before that, a social worker would come in and look at the books on your bookshelf and make sure that the books on your bookshelf were appropriate for the age of the kids in your house. They did want to see diverse books, which I had no problem with. I have books from everywhere because I believe that we should look through windows instead of
Oh yeah,
mirrors
for sure.
when we're learning. And Brooke is the same way. Brooke's also
Hmm.
an educator. Okay,
Yeah.
so this is the way that we look at the world. The difference is I don't need a seventh grader reading Monday's Not Coming and learning all of the sudden that this girl only rides the bus so she can provide oral sex. And that's the kind of stuff that's in these books.
Oh yeah, they're planting seeds. They're like,
Yeah,
let's get all our new Pornhub customers. Let's put it out easy. Why would a publisher say I want more in here? Because they're getting a kickback from the porn industry.
yeah,
And so there's like people say, "Oh, well, how do you know?" Well, this is what's been working across time. They fought ratings in movies in 1964 when they were going to there was a Harmon, he was going to put it in, and he was running a bill in the Senate, and the movie industry came and said, "Oh, don't worry about writing a bill to rate movies. We'll rate ourselves." And they did, but it was at the request of that bill going through. But the librarians fought the rating of movies. They were in there claiming that it was against freedom of speech. So they're still there. They're still pushing for it. Um, and but they accept the movie rating system. So
I
what's
also
the
need to
deal?
I need to hit on that because during Obama's administration, both in America and in Canada, and they're still doing it, they're clearing books out that they would consider to be too white in perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So they're just dumping them into dumpsters. I've had friends who've done it
Mm-hmm.
who've called me and said, "Hey, do you need any books for your classroom? Because there's a ton of books right
Mm-hmm.
here being dumped." And they're constantly being dumped so that they have room for these other things. Let's remember it was again around 2018 or so, maybe earlier, where they said that some Dr. Seuss books needed
Oh
to
yeah.
be removed. So
Yeah.
who's and then I mean getting rid of.
Mm-hmm.
Amazon couldn't sell them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean all so they're removing them. Amazon can't sell them. I don't know how that's not considered book banning.
Mm-hmm.
And that was from the left.
Well, even the Gulag book that I read, Coming Out of the Ice, which is really like, I love that horrific
Okay.
history thing because I'm like, how come nobody stood up? If
Yeah.
I were there, I would stand up. Like, that's been my inspiration is those Holocaust books. I'm like, they let this happen under their nose. How come?
Yes.
And so I want to make sure that that wouldn't happen with me. And so I read those books because I'm like, if I were there, I would have said no. And so
Right.
there's this book called Coming Out of the Ice. And it was about an American who was in the gulag for years, and he tells his horrific experience. And then, in order to buy it, I got it from my uncle. It was $300 on Amazon because it was so rare, because reportedly Russia had come and bought those because they don't want the truth coming out.
Right.
So, books do need to be protected, but the right books, and they're getting rid of those. They're hiding the truth about communism. They're hiding the truth about socialism. They don't want us to know. So not only do I look for explicit books in the library, I look for the good books that aren't there. They won't allow PragerU books. I've recommended them. And I love those books. I mean, they even talk about George Washington had slaves. They're not hiding stuff, but the perspective is one that doesn't make you ashamed of being an American. It kind of explains the context and is like, yeah, this happened, this happened, this happened. They won't have it. They also do not have any Cleon Skousen books. He wrote The Making of America, The 5,000-Year Leap. That's
Mhm.
what I used to teach the Revolution and the American Revolution and Constitution, because it's wonderfully researched and shows the origins of our nation. It's not even in the library, but all these sex books about incest are.
Well,
And so I
and
brought that to administration's attention. Sorry, I could go on and on.
I well, one of the things that we did this weekend is we listened to the Iliad,
Mm-hmm.
and homosexuality has been around for a really, really long time, like for forever. And in the Iliad, Achilles' heel, what really makes him angry, I mean, yes, that's his vulnerable spot, but so is his best friend, right? And if you follow, there are a lot of people who say that his best friend and they were lovers. And he goes on to these very powerful monologues about how much he cared about this person. I wouldn't argue those books being in the library. And I think that that's
No.
a really important thing that people need to understand.
Yeah.
There is a difference
Mhm.
between this was my best friend who I fought with and who I comforted. And the last thing he wants
Yeah.
is an embrace from his friend. Even an embrace doesn't bother me. When you start talking about pulling off pants and doing explicit stuff, I don't want to see that. I don't want to see it in gay. I don't want to see it in straight. And I certainly don't want to see it in adult and child.
Right. And you know, it's about reading into it. And it's the law in Utah says it has to be a description or depiction of, and then it lists the certain things, right? It doesn't just say then they went into the bedroom and shut the door. You
Right.
know, that wouldn't count. The Iliad wouldn't count because
Right.
there's not a description or depiction of it. And that's this explicit content, it like lives in your head and it comes at you unwanted and unannounced. And it's not fair to these kids, especially kids who would be
Kids.
triggered with it. Well, especially kids, right?
Right. Well, and
Period.
also kids who have decided at this point in their lives, they've decided that they want to follow a moral code. Not your
Yeah.
business. It is not your the idea that these people think they're so enlightened that it's their job
Mhm.
to sow the seeds into these sheltered children.
Mhm.
Not your business. We
Right.
had a reporter who said, I want to buy this stuff for all your kids. Anybody who wants this, I will buy it. If it's a banned book, I will buy it. And I wish we would have put those pictures up.
Yeah, Brian shot, right? Like, and he got fired. That was awesome. He's like, I'll buy it. I'm like, okay, you're
You're
fired.
welcome. I immediately put the picture up from Blankets and was like, this is what we're talking about
Mhm.
here. And
Yeah.
in Blankets, a young boy is taken into a room by his babysitter. And then he comes out and he encourages the next boy to go inside the room. That's what happens in Blankets.
Yeah,
And
let's normalize this, guys. This is normal. Go for it. Let's do it.
right. All
You
these
know, it
people
gives
who
the
were like
pedophiles
Epstein
license.
files, I'm like, have you listened to the stories of these young people? Because they did the same thing. It was normalized and they did the same thing. We are normalizing perversion and
Oh,
stop with the whole, oh, you're just homophobic. Because again, to me, the worst of this whole thing is the adult taking advantage of the children. And it's not just happening in the books, it's happening by the people who are putting it on the shelves.
oh yeah. And they think a child can declare this before they're even sexually developed or sexually and socially mature enough to know what it means and the ramifications,
Yep.
right? And there's all these studies that say that if you declare yourself or label yourself before you understand that you're more depressed, it's harder to go through. And but they're doing it anyway because they're the experts. And so
Right.
we have to stand up and say, no, this isn't okay for you to normalize something that's going to be more traumatizing to my child. Um, so we need parents to stand up. I hope that people are touched to come and just say no. Go to your county
Right.
commissioner and say, can you please label these books so we can go back to the library? Because I don't go to the library anymore. I buy all my books. I get all the books that have been donated. My library has grown huge because they're getting rid of the classics. So that's what I'm doing against this. And when I request good books at the library, they don't get in so
Adopted.
far.
Yeah. And there are people, I want to be fair, that there are people who feel that, their children should only read religious books. Again, that's their choice. My argument is parents deserve to know, and I want to know why so many people are willingly lying to them. I had a woman who I was her child's instructor, and she very much liked me. And then she thought that I was a book banner. So let me be super clear about a few things here. I'm an adult survivor of child sexual abuse.
Mhm.
Um, I don't read the majority of these. Even with the titles, when she was telling me what to title the pages and she said incest, it triggered me to as somebody who's been over this for 30 years. It still triggered me to even hear it. Um, and the idea that we're exposing these kids, and let's be real, people move to Utah. Brooke and I are both transplants. You move to Utah because you think you're going to have a better chance of protecting your kids. And when you have people, and not all, because I have definitely talked to librarians who get the book bundles,
Oh
which we
yeah,
should talk about,
there's
right?
some great librarians out there.
Yeah. And they grab these book bundles that are given to them. So, they're not just made out of money. And Scholastic or somebody will send you a book bundle, and in that book bundle, there's this kind of material.
Well,
So
we could do pre-purchase lists too. So I've been running against the
yeah,
NBRI, the 34,000 rated books that we have aggregated.
pull that up again.
Texas has been sending us lists before they purchase it so we can give them a rating on it and say, hey, this might not be one you want to get. And we're growing our list all the time. But that's a big piece of it. It's like, hey, stop bringing all the stuff in if you don't know what's in there. And then there's all these AI tools that you can just ask the title and it will look around and say, oh yeah, this isn't for kids. If that's the key question you ask, you say, is this okay for children? It will generally tell you what we've already found out. So
Well, and that's the solution, Brooke. There's already at least one charter school that I'm aware of. You can't bring something else in.
mhm.
You have an approved list before. These are the books that we read at this age. And in your library, in your teacher's library, in their classroom, they can't have books that aren't on the list.
Right.
Even as a teacher, I couldn't buy books that weren't on the list as Christmas presents for my students.
And that needs to be done now until the publishers and the authors will alert the public to what's in their books, because that's ultimately what needs to happen. The
Right.
other solution for parents, can you pull up my green light letter, my intergalactic green light letter?
Oh, yeah.
Um, so the other thing that parents can do is they request of their librarian that they not let their child check out a book unless the parent has approved it. So, for instance, if they were to mark, I don't want my kid to check out anything rated 1, 2, I mean 3, 4, or 5, that's adult, or that's been challenged, removed, LGBTQ, or divisive. Divisive is CRT. Then the all the librarian has to do is, as they're checking it out, type the title into the NBRI. It's free. And they could see if it has what the rating is. They can see if it's been challenged or removed. Now, some of these are red herrings. They're removed books. Pen America has reported them as removed. But I have a screen that shows that they're actually in the school. They reported it as challenged because when those books were donated, they stopped to review them before putting them in the library when they were being responsible. You don't just take donations. And so you'll notice right here that this book is, Penn America says that it was restricted in Central York School District. This is the district that got the donation, that took it out to review and put it back in. You can see that it's in 3 elementary schools. You can also see that this book is recommended by the Good and the Beautiful. The Good and the Beautiful is the strictest rating system I know of. They won't recommend a book if it takes the Lord's name in vain. It's like 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
Wow.
And Human Rights Campaign is the one who has a lot of the LGBTQ books. So to have both book recommendations from both opposite ends of the spectrum say this book is amazing, that's just to say, hey, Pen America, thanks for your contribution, but what do you link to? How do you explain this? And we have tried really hard to link to anything where we get our information. So you can have, so I got my master's in critical and creative thinking from UMass Boston. And one of the fundamentals of critical and creative thinking is that you have a variety of sources that you consult. So I'm like, let's put it all into here. and you can make the decision for yourself, because you're not just given the information you want. You're given the information from the Human Rights Campaign, from the Good and the Beautiful, from rated books, from the industry, right? We even have the industry reports on here. So we're hoping people will start thinking for themselves, while rather than swallowing the lies about book banning. You know, don't have a knee-jerk reaction. What kind of a society would you live in if those who control the media end up controlling you?
Well, and that is so important to understand, is that many times, not always, but many times, the people who, um, many of our institutions are infiltrated with activists. And so they take those positions to be the quote unquote experts, to tell you there's nothing to see here. We
Mm-hmm.
don't know why they're so extreme. They're all about the culture war. And these people, everything that they're saying is projection.
Mm-hmm.
They are about the culture war. They are about stealing your child's innocence. They don't even believe, many of them. If you follow queer theory, you don't believe in childhood innocence.
Mm-hmm.
It's oppression.
Well,
And
and they'll and if you don't believe in it, we're going to call you a name, you
oh, for
know?
sure.
And it's like so many people are afraid of being calling and called a name. It's
Right.
like, well, look who's calling you the name. They have no idea anything about you or what you're doing. So it doesn't bother me, because I'm like, that's the best you got, is you're going to call me a name. And so and really that is the best they got. But
Yes.
that's one of the hardest things for me, is the apathy of people not wanting to
Yes.
cause waves, wanting to be a peacemaker, you know. And I'm like, okay, first off, if you want peace, you have to have civility. You have to have truth at your base. You have to have the protection of children at your base. If you don't have that, you will never, ever have peace. And if you don't stand up to protect children, if you don't stand up to protect innocence, then you're not going to have peace. So
Right.
stop calling being a peacemaker. You can do it kindly. You can do it persistently. Just
Right.
because you stand up and say no and people might call you names doesn't mean that you're not being a peacemaker.
Well, and that's important, because the reason that you're so effective, or I could say we as an organization are effective in what we try to do, is because we do try to build those relationships with
Mm-hmm.
common sense elected officials. We don't wear super tight clothes and get up and say, "Oh my goodness, it's pulsating, blah blah blah," right? We're like, "Hey, I've got this information. I want to bring it to you." We're there for them when the politician is being called every name in the book. We're standing right next to them and
Oh,
saying,
yeah.
"We don't want this either." I know I was sent into the minority community to say, "Do you think this is a good representation of us?" And many of them were appalled. Now, there are people who will lie their butts off because it gives them clout. So they may personally read it and go, "Yuck, that's gross." And then turn around and say, "Well, I'm not going to bring charges against a little old librarian."
I know.
You know
Oh my
exactly.
gosh. It's so annoying. It's like
And
they
they'll
do this. Yeah. And they do this movie about how scared they are and stuff. And you're like, when are you
oh yeah,
going to talk about the real issue, about what they're justifying putting on their shelves without anyone knowing? Like,
right,
that's the real issue. And instead, they say this librarian was scared. And you're like, well, what happened before that? You know,
right.
they don't even talk about it. And so it's a crazy thing that people will just swallow it, in my opinion. Go do your own research.
Well, and people don't want to. One, we have the attention span of goldfish. So people don't want to. They want to believe what's easy to believe.
Mm-hmm.
But then
It's
it's
more comfortable.
but then it's your child. It's your child who suddenly maybe just knows things that you wish they didn't know. But
Yeah.
then there's also your child who you open the door and you see them doing things. Again, I was a foster parent. I saw some pretty atrocious things from
Mm-hmm.
kids who knew way too much
Mm-hmm.
at way too young of an
Mm-hmm.
age.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You're teaching them in your home especially if you're trying to help them heal,
Mhm.
because yes, my friends, 5-year-olds can be predators.
Mhm.
So you got a 5-year-old who's a predator, you're trying to help them heal. You're trying to help them not do certain things in classrooms and bathrooms, etc. And then they pick up a book and it's normalized for
And
them.
they get more ideas of what they can do.
Yeah, and I wish we would have had the ones from the squad, because you want to talk
Right.
about ideas. Probably the most shocking thing that I've seen, again, I don't read. Now, you have to understand, parents, they can't just open it up and read one line and go, "Oop, that's enough for me." Especially before the bright line rule. They had to read the entire book before turning it in. And some of these books, let me just tell you about the squad. That's
I
right.
never did, by the way. If they tell you you have to do something, you say, okay, thanks. Just, okay, I know you can tell me about the squad, but I think that there's too much, okay, I'm going to do what you say. You know what I
Right.
mean? Or they won't let me do it. It's like,
Yes.
no, stand up and you tell them how it is. Okay, go
Yes.
back to the squad.
Okay. So the squad is a story where a young woman is date raped, and it's a graphic novel.
Yeah.
So again, when they say, "Oh, well, it has to be pictures," my friends, there are pictures. So,
And that was retained in our school district. I challenged it and it was retained.
okay. So after she's date raped, her friends decide that they're going to go after this boy, and they kill him, and then they tear him apart and they eat his spleen. And this is a middle school book. This is not even a high school book. This is a middle school book that we're justifying that those images need to be in front of kids. Now, I'll give you
Mhm.
another antidote. In one of my classes, a young woman was reading a similar book. I didn't say a thing. I thought maybe she was reading it so that I would be inclined, had I corrected it, maybe the parent would have been like, "That's not your business," right? So I didn't correct it at all. But as the year went by, she came to me and said, "I don't like these. They don't make me feel good." And hmm, I think this is very interesting in the time that we're in. And they kind of teach you to hate men. That's another huge part of what's going on right now, is this
Mhm.
massive. So it's not just the porn, it's also the activism. It's in tons of books. Like,
And
go ahead.
on our website, we have it's called Megan's Story. So if you go to rateabooks.org and
Oh,
scroll
yeah.
down, and it's why we do what we do. And there's a girl who was brave enough in Utah to tell her story, and her mother tells the story about how she got addicted to these books. And then she just felt so dark and she was hiding and she wouldn't go out. And then she did stuff and got in the juvenile hall. But the darkness is so heavy that
Yeah.
I don't even rate these books, that I won't read them. We have a team that does it, but the darkness is so, hey, Leo, I'm still in the meeting. Thank you. The, the darkness is so heavy that I would like go and cry in the, um, I would go and cry for 3 hours in the dark. Like it really weighs on your soul, some of these books, and I read the heavy stuff. I read the Holocaust, I read the gulags, I read but this is a different kind. This destroys your hope. This makes you think that it's normal. There's no redemption in it. Some of these books that are heavy, like that I like to read, there's redemption of the human
Yeah.
soul to overcome this. But that's not what these books are.
No, no, no. That it's another push towards nihilism for our
Mhm.
kids. It's make them sick. At least make them the very most hopeful version of what this does, in their opinion, is it makes them not judgmental. It makes them open to anything. It gives them a postmodern worldview. Nothing, there's no such thing as bad. That's the very best thing. But there are
Amoral, but that's not a good thing,
no,
So,
no, no, no. I'm just saying I'm trying to give their perspective on why these people think that this is okay to do to our kids. No, it's not a good thing. It's uh, childhood should be filled with joy. It really should. It should be filled with joy. And when something bad happens, you should believe in a happy ending as a child. You know, you've got you've got the rest of your life for things to not go the way you want them to. But as as children, um, the best books, they uplift and they give hope because this is another generation coming. And to steal that from them is, I mean, I would say it's criminal. Let's explain the bright line rule, and then I'm just going to give you the last little bit to really explain your program.
Okay. The bright line rule is basically no description or depiction of three things, and that includes like intercourse, masturbation, sodomy, and it lists what those are. If that is in there, then there is no serious value to minors, and they need to be removed off of school grounds, which includes libraries, and it includes classroom libraries. And so that's, we also have a second law after that, so that if it's removed in 3 school districts, that it's removed statewide. And so I believe we have, I forget, maybe 35 or so books that have been removed statewide. And you can go read all of those reviews on there. And it's at tinyurl.com/UT statewide removals. And you can see the excerpts from those and also the USBE website. Because I like to give people, here's the information, you can go review it. You don't need to be a pawn in this game.
And I do want to say one more thing, that there was an audit done, and for years, I mean, I think it took 4 years for this whole process to be implemented. But in that time, so many people said, you're trying to get rid of Tom Sawyer. You're trying to get rid of Romeo and Juliet. And they were saying all of these things. And a lot of our elected officials believed them. And then we were able to get an audit done. We have one senator who did a great job and was able to get an audit done. And within the first, I think, 2 schools they went to, they found enough books. They were supposed to go all the way across the state. And in the first 2 schools they went to, they found enough books to fill the criteria of the audit.
Oh yeah, and that's not even anywhere near the whole state. Like we have, you could see the books that are across the state. We have so much work to do, and people just don't want to do it. It's uncomfortable. It's ugly. It's dark. It's heavy.
It also makes your friends and neighbors think you're crazy.
Yeah,
it's true.
So, but I'm not going to be one of those people who it happens underneath my nose because I wasn't brave enough to look up.
Right.
And sometimes that's all you need to do is to look at it. And it breaks my heart to see good people who do nothing. Like that is where I get really sad, because I know they're good people, and I'm like, how do I reach you? How do I help you understand that you're part of this solution, that we need you, that you can't hide? You'll cause huge damage to happen when you hide. And so, I've cried and cried about this darkness, but it really squishes my hope. You were talking about, we don't want to kill the hope of youth, but for us as fighters, hope is vital. We have to have hope that one person will listen to this, maybe 2.
We have 3 listening now.
What?
We have 3 currently listening now.
Yes.
But yes, you have to be the people who stand, because right now we still can. 5 years ago, if we all would have listened and had respect enough for each other to go, maybe they're not crazy, and we all would have stood, it wouldn't be in our libraries. If every parent said, my kid won't be using them, they'll be empty, that would have made the school district have to look at it instead of looking down on us. But if we don't stand, our children won't be able to stand. And
they won't even know what it looks like to stand. They won't even know that they can stand. They will be on their knees, not knowing they were born to stand.
Yes. Yeah. And that is something I'm not willing to watch happen. I will tell you, I have I have a nephew who his teacher was talking to him about all the book banners, and he was like, "Oh, Aunt Kara, you would love this teacher. She's explaining they're trying to get rid of 1984 and this book and this book." And I was like, "Oh no, buddy, that's not what's happening." And he's like, "But my teacher," and I said, "Well, I've got on my phone five of the different books, and all I did was I showed him the eating of the spleen, right? I showed him a few other things, nothing as graphic as some of the stuff in here." And he was like, "Well, why would they lie?" And now he knows. And unfortunately, that's where we are. But we have this gift to be joyful warriors. We have
Yeah.
this gift of knowing each other and creating groups of other people, oftentimes women, but yes, men as well, who will stand up, who will say, "You don't get to do this to my child." And it's hard to know that there are people who even want to.
And that's my greatest joy. That's my greatest reward, is to know other warriors like you and to be friends with them and be like, oh, they said this and it was so awesome. And it brings, that's where I get the light, is in association with
We're
people
not
who
alone,
stand up.
right? We're not alone. And probably the thing that makes it a joyful experience is that when you meet the warriors, they're like a people that you would never have, that you're told don't exist anymore. You're told, you know what I mean? Like, you're told that these people, that you're the only one. You're the only one who still thinks like you. Everybody else has moved with the times. Why can't you just move with the times? Why can't you just accept it? And then you sometimes find yourself in a room filled with people, and it's like you've come home. That's
Yes. Yes. That's what, because I always feel like you're not the peacemaker here. We're supposed to be peacemakers here and not cause waves. And so I'm like, sorry,
yeah,
and I don't have any other excuse rather than, and I am very nice and I control my face in those legislative meetings.
yeah.
I control my face right now. I'm unleashed with you because you're my BFF.
Yep.
So we know about controlling the face.
Yep. It's true.
And the eye rolls and it's hard.
The saying things, like the cultivating the way that you say something when really you have a whole lot more to say.
Oh
Yes,
yeah. Oh
yes.
yeah, it's so hard.
It is. But you guys, I just hope that this gives you some bit of an understanding of what's really going on. And I know that it's dark, and I know that it's hard, and I know that you don't want to believe that it's here, but the best thing that you can do for your children is to believe that it is here and to stand in the way.
Oh yeah.
That's what our kids need. Our kids absolutely, I've heard them say it. They've said it to me. We know something's wrong. When are the adults going to do something about it?
Mm-hmm. Can I
So, yes,
I
go,
want to
Brooke.
just tell a dream I had. It's a weird dream, but I dreamt that I was in a van with kids. I was taking them home, and on the sidewalk there were like 8 to 10 naked kids like performing sex acts.
Oh,
And
okay.
in my dream I was like, where are the adults? Did they tell them this is wrong?
Mm,
Did they say, hey, let's not do this? This is going to, did anyone explain it to them at all?
yeah,
And so when I woke up, I was like, oh, we need to explain to them what's normal. We need
yeah.
to explain to them what's right. Because what they're doing right now is they're thinking that all of these alternate ideologies and
Brave
sexualities
new
and
world.
is normal. Yeah, it's normal and okay.
Yeah.
But there
It's
needs to be somebody on the sidewalk saying, "Oh no, guys, let me show you. Let me teach you what's normal, what's good, what's healthy."
yeah,
And we have to do that. We also have to say, "Hey, this isn't healthy. This, especially at this young age, wait until you're 18,
yeah,
whatever it is."
yeah, yeah. Wait until you can be responsible and
Yeah,
deal with the consequences for whatever
hmm
it is that you choose to do with your life.
right.
Well, Brooke, how tell them your website, how they can find you, etc.
Okay, so Go to ratedbooks.org and you can sort the books in the reports feature by age, whatever. You can get links to all of them. You can watch the videos that support it. You can print off those reports and then also go to the National Book Rating Index. And at the top right here, you can see Get Automated Inventory Reviews. We can review the whole collection in your library in under 10 minutes. You send us an Excel spreadsheet of the books. We just need the title, the author, the ISBN. You can say this is from X school. We don't need to know what school it's from. We can run it for you so you can clean it. It could be a public library. It doesn't matter. Send it to us. We will match it against our 34,000 reviewed reports and send it back to you so that you can feel more confident in, is this appropriate for children or not? We also have a service that goes by for your but I can't give you a price because it's how big your library is, but we can integrate our ratings with your library system. So when patrons are using it, they can see the rating in there, and it's ongoing as we get more reports, as you get more books, those will be rated because it has an API that it uses to keep it live and active. So we're trying to come up with solutions for you because up till now, parents type in each title into the inventory. We don't have time to do that because there are so many. We're also coming up with a book code scanner where you scan the ISBN number on the book and it will pull up the rating for you. So that's coming soon. Whatever it is, even go through the recommended, click on recommended. And we have been gathering all these great books from different organizations that we trust so you can find those good ones and make sure that your kids are getting that.
Well, thank you so much for everything you do. Everyone, please, please share this with someone who needs to hear it. This is the knowledge is power. This is the way that you protect your kids, and our kids absolutely do need to be protected. So thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you next time.
Thank
Bye.
you.